Today's topic, and it actually talking about the heat wave, it made me think of today's topic because we're talking about adapting to change, right? California, you get a heat wave. At least this part of California, you're not used to higher temperatures, and it's tough sometimes for people who are been here for a long time and suddenly you get a heat wave like that, and it's hard to react, and sometimes just the thought of it makes people panic, right? Like just looking ahead at the temperatures. Part of the reason I don't check temperatures anymore, I don't really care. Tomorrow's going to be hot or cold. We'll deal with it. But people look at that and they get anxiety from it, right? They suddenly see temperatures in the mid 90s and it's like they're freaking out. And it made me think, because we were talking today about what we're going to talk about is interest rates. And a lot of times the same thing happens. People hear the Fed either raises or lowers interest rates, and then they're already having some anxiety as to what that means to them, right? How is this going to affect me?
CD Financial, where health meets wealth.
Welcome back, everybody, to the CD Financial Podcast. CD Financial, where health meets wealth. I'm Marcus C., your host, and as always, that man across from me is the man with a plan, Chuck D. Chuck, how the heck are you?
Mark, pound it. I'm fine, man. I'm good.
Excellent.
Good. I'm wearing this like almost Aloha shirt, very SoCal.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody can see that.
Mood.
There are little palm trees on there, and I am already craving a pina colada. So maybe on our next break we'll get some pina coladas in here because that might liven up the show.
That would be nice, man. I love coconut. Who doesn't love rum?
Who does? Hey,
pineapple juice.
Come on. Pineapple and coconut. What could go wrong?
Cool freeze on that. Bam.
What could go wrong? All right. So first of all, I want to say I'm always happy to be here with you, and especially this time of year, because I got to tell you, I just escaped. So it was right at 98 when I left Texas, but it felt like 105. You know how they tell you that real feel, you know, when it feels like 105. So I don't know what the temperature is today, but it's a heck of a lot cooler than 105.
Oh, here in SoCal, it's like 72.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
How do you get paid to be a meteorologist here? I mean, you just look outside and go,
they really sensationalize the weather.
72 and sunny again today, folks. Thanks for coming.
Stay tuned for the heat wave.
Tomorrow could go up to 7. Well, you had a heat wave recently, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. It was bad.
How was the heat wave?
Well, we ran our air conditioner
for 80.
4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
There was that, which I hate because I'm not used to it. You know, AC is not good for your skin and such. But more importantly, there were a lot of wildfires that broke out.
That's crazy.
Just across the valley from me, which I've never seen before. In the 16 years that I've been in SoCal, I've never seen across Crown Valley on the other side. There were little smokestacks on Saddleback Mountain, climbing the mountain, little ones. And then a big one off to me, it would look like my east, but I don't know which direction I was
I think
specifically pointing. And my wife and Sophia went over the hill that evening, and she was like, come on. I said, I'm too tired. It was because we're right at the summit. We're on the other side of the summit. And you could see, instead of smoke at night, you see red. You see the fires. And you can see it on my Facebook. Actually, I posted it there.
Insane. I saw it on your Instagram.
IG fed to Facebook.
I liked the pictures, not liking the fires. I liked your pictures.
No, it was weird to see it. Like I said, 16 years, I've never seen that. Like close. I've seen wildfires here before. No, I know they're around, and occasionally you could smell them, but I did not see any.
Yeah.
And now they're gone because of the cool temperatures again. We're very thankful. Right?
We're back to 72 and sunny here in Southern California. Thanks for coming. I'm just going to become a meteorologist here in Southern California.
They really do sensationalize the weather. It's like, and
brace yourselves. It's going to be 70.
They really get enthusiastic, right? And it's like, how much really goes on here?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and Angie will say, she'll be like, oh no, it's going to be really warm this weekend. And I'll pull up my phone to see how warm.
75.
No, it'll go like 82. Right?
Yeah,
if the beach is 75, that's really something, right? Because it's usually moderate at 72, 73 with a little breeze, right?
Yeah.
People don't realize that about SoCal. It's the beach in our on season. Our on season for summer, they say May gray and June gloom for a reason.
Right.
You really don't want to plan a sunny vacation on the beach in California until July. And honestly, mid-July. Mid-July through mid-September, that's the choice. August is gorgeous the whole time.
Yeah.
And the first week after Labor Day is beautiful. Kids go back to school.
I was about to say kids are back in school and you can actually
they get
space at the beach.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of crowds till after Labor Day, and that's gorgeous. I mean, look, we have May babies. All 3 of my kids are May babies.
Yeah.
and we went down to the beach every Labor Day. We would go to the beach on Labor Day on the Eastern Shore. Fenwick Island, any Delawareans, Virginians, D.C. I know a lot of you Washington, D.C. feds are listening. Yeah, we had a house right against the OC border. I mean, it's right there, Fenwick Island, Delaware, and that was a beautiful time, man.
We were recently talking about that because I tell you we went out on our on the kayaks, right? And you said it was shallow bay.
Bay.
Yeah,
it's all like on high tide, maybe it's 5 feet deep. At low tide, it's like 3.5 feet deep. It's a really shallow.
It feels deeper.
It does feel deeper, yeah. And we would throw those crab traps out right on the bulkhead of our house there.
Nice little blue crabs.
Oh man, and just pull them out. Put the bunker fish, they're called stinky fish. I called them.
Stinky fish.
I don't know how much they cost now, 16 years later, but it was like $3.50 for a bag of 2.
Wow.
And you just put a bunker fish in each trap.
Yeah.
You want them to get stinky, right? And then the crabs just come, and then later on that evening, you pull the traps up, and man, you're
feasting.
Oh man, I'd drink a beer at the galley kitchen because my boys were little.
Yeah.
Sophia she was a newborn when we came here. Yep. Right? 5-6 months old. And I would crack the crabs and throw the body or the flesh of 2.5 to 3 crabs. Yeah. I would put in my marinara sauce.
Oh.
And then the rest of them, right? We usually would have 6. I would crack those, and then I'd just have because you throw the little ones back, you throw the females back. Right. Most of the time. Yeah. You just keep the males. And anyway, I would drink a beer and I'd serve the crab meat to Ange and the boys. And man, they would light that stuff up, but nobody knew how to break it. Now Jude's 22. He knows how to get into the crab.
My man can get into it.
And Angie too. Yeah. And they've been watching me, but they've been working their own moves out. Right. So, and being raised with crabs, that's great. Right. Because now he knows how to maneuver.
Yeah.
Seriously, I wasn't that good at shucking crabs till probably, honestly, when we moved to Philly and then bought the house in Delaware, and I got pretty proficient. The 10 years we lived in the Philly, Wilmington, Delaware region.
Very nice area, yeah. And
that was nice.
Definitely good crabs
25
there.
minutes to the old house in South Philly. We lived for 3 years. And we could go to Ben Franklin Highway. We took people to the restaurants. South Philly's got amazing restaurants.
Absolutely. Best sandwiches in the world, I think.
Cash only. A lot of those Italian places.
Yes, man. Yes. It's interesting. I like that you said you put crab in marinara. A lot of people don't realize marinara is a seafood sauce, at least traditionally.
Right?
Yeah, the word marinara, that's where it comes from, right? Mar, it comes from the sea.
Mare.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So marinara is
Frutti di mare.
yeah, it's traditionally a seafood.
Well, that crab would give it that sweet, almost nutty, little seafoody flavor with spaghetti. Oh my goodness, I like it with spaghetti.
I wasn't hungry.
Yeah.
I'm hungry
Just
now, man.
that spaghetti noodle. I just love that size noodle with the marinara with a little bit of seafood in it, with a little bit of crab. So good. My goodness. Tossed salad. We had a dinner.
We're doing Italian.
And don't forget, we had the appetizer was the crab meat. And you know what? Clarified butter.
Yes.
It's better than butter. And you'll never hear me say that. I love butter.
I'm with you.
Right?
Yeah.
My thing's Kerrygold in this overpriced, double the rate of Kerrygold from Costco's French butter my wife buys, but it's got veins of salt in it, the French butter.
Is it the one that's paddled, the French butter?
I think it is because it actually leaches out of the wax paper onto your fridge. You could see salt.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, oh, it's so good, but it's so expensive.
Butter for the health tip. We're not doing that today, but we're doing butter for a health tip later. At some point it will be our
I'm going to say Kerrygold is equally as good.
Yeah.
I think it's equally as good, but there's those salt veins in the French in that French butter. It is so good, both of them.
Man, I'm getting hungry.
I bought the New Zealand from Costco.
Yeah,
it has a cow's head on it, and it's because I figure in Australia, New Zealand, they're not penning the cattle up in feed lots and giving them genetically modified. They're just grazing, and that's what it says.
Yep.
Might even say 95% grass fed on the New Zealand butter, but it didn't have the flavor. And the color was a little pale. I don't know if it was grasslands there. It's not like Ireland, right? The Kerrygold.
I like the Kerrygold.
Yeah, I like the Kerrygold. I tried it, and I didn't like it. But and I don't get paid from any of these folks.
Yeah.
Right? Let me be clear. Yes.
However, if Kerrygold would like to sponsor the show,
That'd be fun. Hey, free lifetime, free butter for life. Well, I'm in.
Done and done. Well, listen, today's topic, and it actually talking about the heat wave, it made me think of today's topic because we're talking about adapting to change, right? California, you get a heat wave. At least this part of California, you're not used to higher temperatures, and it's tough sometimes for people who are been here for a long time and suddenly you get a heat wave like that, and it's hard to react, and sometimes just the thought of it makes people panic, right? Like just looking ahead at the temperatures. Part of the reason I don't check temperatures anymore, I don't really care. Tomorrow's going to be hot or cold. We'll deal with it. But people look at that and they get anxiety from it, right? They suddenly see temperatures in the mid-90s and it's like they're freaking out. And it made me think, because we were talking today about what we're going to talk about is interest rates. And a lot of times the same thing happens. People hear the Fed either raises or lowers interest rates, and then they're already having some anxiety as to what that means to them, right? How is this going to affect me?
Yeah.
So recently, Fed lowered interest rates, right?
Right.
That's what we're looking at now.
That's right. And what was the effect?
So that's my question to you. So what is the effect? Because I think a lot of people are going to think, well, what does this mean for my TSP? What does this mean for my 401k? What does this mean for my IRA?
Yes.
And we're already feeling that anxiety because we're just looking at that interest rate lowering.
Yes. Okay. So, well, we do know when the Federal Reserve raised interest rates to control inflation because the economy was too hot, and they kept interest rates too low for too long. Mm-hmm. And they really did. So we had that effect in 2022. They jacked up interest rates and kept them there through 2023. And what happened when interest rates rise, stock market reacted and it lost, what was it? When we say it lost, I think we're talking the S&P lost 18%.
Right.
Now that's the C fund at TSP. Or if you, at your 401k, you have an S&P 500 fund. I think it lost about 18%. But the rest of the stock market, at TSP, that's called the S fund, like small.
S fund. Mm-hmm.
That lost 26%
Wow.
when the Fed raised those interest rates. But when the Fed raises interest rates, what else happens is bond funds suffer. Mm-hmm. So the F, or fixed franc fund, the fixed fund, it also lost. In fact, in 2022, if you look at the TSP fund performance, I want to say, where is that now, Mark? It lost almost 13%,
wow.
minus 12.83. Yeah. So when interest rates rise, bonds typically suffer. We'll talk about what happens now, and we'll use an illustration as we go.
Okay.
But now that interest rates, and look, I think you know it. You could get really good interest rates at CDs and really high interest rates on a mortgage.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody kind of, are you still there, folks? You're just staying.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave because you got a 30-year mortgage at 2.5%. I think I've talked about this before. I've got a 15-year at 3.37. I'm not touching it.
Yep.
I really don't want to. Now, Angie, she talks about getting another home, bigger square footage, footprint, right? Maybe it would even have a ocean view.
Maybe a guest house. I'm just throwing that out there now.
Well, if we could, ideally what we want to do is keep the house.
Yeah.
Maybe make that a rental.
Nice.
Right? Even though rents now are starting to soften too. Hey, look, things can't continue to go up. Right. At one point, they're going to break. Right? So what we want is, instead of them breaking and dropping fast, you want it to come down easy.
Yeah.
So the Fed, I really thought they were only going to drop it 25 basis points. What that means is 0.25%, just a quarter percentage point. But in fact, and I weighed in on a group chat in Facebook, and about half of us said, actually more than half said 25 bips. But they cut the interest rates by half a percentage.
Wow.
Let's go.
Yes. No, go ahead. I didn't mean to step on you because
ask me, Mark, that question.
My question, getting back to what I was mentioning earlier, how does this affect me? Because again, these are numbers we're throwing out there, and as soon as I start seeing numbers, I might start freaking out a little bit. But I don't need to freak out, is what you're telling me, or I shouldn't.
No, let's go look at this. The Federal Reserve lowers interest rates. This is on AI, okay? I put it in there. I don't agree with all of it. And by the way, you can't believe everything the internet or AI says.
Well, slow down there, man. If it's on the internet, it's got to be.
However, cheaper borrowing.
Yeah.
So lower interest rates obviously lowers. In fact, I got a text from a mortgage broker who said, hey, we could get you interest rates at, I don't know, somewhere in the fives, if it was 5% or 5.5%. But a year ago when we were looking, or even more than that, it was 15 months ago, it was 6.5%, 7%.
I was about to say 7.
So 5.5%. So lowering interest rates makes borrowing money cheaper for businesses and consumers.
Okay.
This can lead to increased spending on big ticket items like homes, cars, and business investments. Oh, let's talk about that. Because we're talking about the effect on TSP.
Right.
Right? We're talking about the effect on TSP and on the S fund. So the C fund has done quite well this year. It's doing good, right?
Yep.
And in 2023, it did great. But the S fund's been floundering. Now, here's a funny thing about that. When you're trying to expand as a smaller business, not an S&P 500 company, but smaller, they're still not that small, by the way. They're still in the hundreds of millions and sometimes billions in the S fund, right? But when they're expanding and interest rates go really high, these companies can't now take cheap loans to go into new markets, opening new offices, getting new warehouse facilities and branches and construction. That all gets more expensive. So when money was cheap, businesses can expand a lot. But when money's not so cheap, they pull back.
Right.
Because the interest on their loans is too heavy. And so they don't expand as much. So that's why the S fund, I think, now, I don't know for sure, right? And I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I checked Amazon and all the crystal balls are out.
Right.
They're sold out. They're back ordered for months now, Marcus. And I broke mine last week. So to be clear, I have no idea what the S fund or the complete U.S. stock market's going to do.
I might have a spare crystal ball in the garage, but I'll check later. Go ahead.
You know, maybe we could ask the 8-ball, right?
I think that works.
Like Putty off Seinfeld. Ask the 8-ball. Yes. But in this case, the S fund might have some opportunity now as interest rates fall, maybe to increase.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe because we may have to wait a little while, right? And sometimes the market, we say, bakes things in.
Okay.
So they were expecting this. They're expecting an interest rate fall. So it hasn't been disrupted too much.
Okay.
But the F fund, the fixed fund, do you know why they call it fixed?
Fixed. I'm assuming because it's fixed, it doesn't move. Right?
Yeah, you would think, but it does move. As already pointed out, in 2022, the F fund lost 12.83%.
Yeah.
The last time that happened was decades ago. I believe, and if you listeners could correct me, you could put a comment in on YouTube, on the podcast channel, but CD Financial, where health meets wealth. But if you look at it, minus 12.83. The last time double digits on bonds and stocks happened simultaneously was, I think, 1969.
Wow.
Wow is right. Yes. Yeah. That's well over 50 years ago, 55 years ago. So that's something, right? When bonds are supposed to be stable, fixed. You think,
fixed.
Hey, yeah. But listen, I'm going to tell you, after looking at thousands of TSPs over the last 16 years, very few use the F fund. It's not utilized very much at the Fed. They prefer the G fund because it can't lose money. But the F fund has consistently done, over time, over the decades, has done much better. Now there might be the opportunity for the F fund to recover and do well. More so maybe than the S fund. That's why I say might, potentially, because I don't know for sure.
Right.
But I can tell you this. When early in the year, when they were expecting the F fund to do, or they were expecting interest rates to drop and they didn't, it was baked in again. And because it didn't happen, April saw another sharp decline in the F fund. So all the gains, January, February, March, taken back in April to scratch. Now we're looking and it looks bright again. It looks bright again because now it actually did happen.
Okay. Fed
lowered, and they lowered by 0.5 percentage point. So things are softening up, right? They're lowering it because they said, okay, unemployment's come up enough. I think their target was 4%, the Fed.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, that's high enough for unemployment. Let's now bring interest rates down. So let's talk about interest rates.
Okay.
When they come down now, interest rates, bonds usually are, what is that? Is it conversely proportionate?
Yeah.
Yeah, opposite. So bonds now should go up when interest rates come down. So let's illustrate, shall we?
Please do. Yes.
Okay, good. Let's talk about companies.
Okay.
All right. Let's keep it simple, Mark. Blue chip company, big company that you like. What comes to mind?
Blue chip. First thing, blue chip, Coke, Apple, those are big. Or you know what? Being from Austin, Dell, right? Get the local guy in there. Dell would be one of those.
Dell Computers. Yeah, fantastic. Dell. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay. So let's say this year, you buy a $10,000 bond from Dell. And let's say because interest rates are so high, Dell's paying you 6%. Okay. So you're getting a 6% interest rate from a $10,000 bond from Dell. You buy it for 10 years. So folks, it's a $10,000 bond and he just bought it for 10 years. And this is an illustration only, okay? We're just telling a story, but it helps to have names. Dell's paying you 6%. They're going to pay you that par rate, they call it, for how many years?
10 years, we said.
10 years, because it's fixed, right?
Yep.
And how much did we say?
$10,000.
$10,000 bond, what's the interest rate?
6%.
So $600. Typically a bond pays you a coupon rate twice a year. So they'll pay you $300 twice a year. $600.
Yep.
Okay. Now follow me. Next year, the Fed continues to cut interest rates like they said they would.
Right.
Okay. So bonds continue to improve. This happened to my dad back in the 80s when I got 10% in a CD.
Yeah.
But mortgages were probably 10% too, right? Or 12?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, people were used to really high mortgages. So 10%, forget that. Yeah, when interest rates were falling, my dad did great. He had a portfolio that was half stocks. And from especially 1992 to 99, the stock market just took off straight up the hill. Right. I mean, took off. Yeah. Stellar. And then it pulled back in the technology meltdown of 3 years. But interest rates were dropping. So as interest rates dropped, my dad's bond funds did great. I'm going to explain to you why.
Okay.
Next year, I can't get a 6% Dell. Let's say I go to Dell, and because interest rates dropped, Dell can only give me 5%.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Not a big deal, but a big deal to the bond traders.
Yeah.
Right?
Because when we're talking over the course of 10 years, that percentage makes a big difference.
Yeah, big difference. So next year, the Fed has dropped interest rates 3 or 4 times. And now Dell will only offer me a 5% bond. The same, how many years?
10 years.
10 years. Yeah. And now I'm only getting 5%. So instead of your $600 a year, how much are you going to get now?
$250 twice a year.
$500. That's it. Right?
Right.
That's it. So 5%, $500. So let's say my friends tell me at work, all my friends at the Fed, they in my agency, they say, Charles, what are you doing in that F fund? You got to get out of there. You want to get rid of that and get back into the stock market. It's rolling. It's doing great. Full steam ahead. Boop, boop. Right? Yeah. So I say, okay, I'm only getting 5% a year. Right? Now, I don't own at the fixed or the F fund that. Okay. And by the way, folks, this applies with your spouses if they're not Feds or anybody listening, 401ks, IRAs, bond funds. Yeah. We don't typically, by the way, use bond funds because I don't trust interest rates. We'd rather use alternative investments and get similar returns without the risk. As I said before, if you were relying on the F fund or your bond funds in your portfolio, intermixed, especially with your other IRAs or 401ks, TSP, it's a bad scenario when both the stock market and the bond market go down. That was a bad year to take any money out for income. Yeah. Bad sequence of returns. Horrible. As a retiree, you got to separate the money. We've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
Get your safe money safe and actually make sure it's safe.
Make sure it's safe.
It's not open to interest rate environment fluctuation.
Right.
Let's go back to Dell.
All right.
Following year, I say, you know what? I'm listening to my coworkers. I want to get back there in the stock market. So let's say you're, you're a PIMCO, is it the biggest bond fund manager globally? One of the biggest. We know that for sure.
There, yeah.
Based right north in Newport, by the way. Okay. Just 20 minutes north of us.
Nice base.
Okay. Yeah, nice places, right? Yeah. Well, they can afford it, right? So I come to you, Marcus, and you bought your You bought your Dell for 6%. You're going, boy, I wonder when he bought this 10-year bond. And I come to you and I go, hey, listen, I want to sell my bond to you. I got the same 10-year bond you do. And you're thinking, do you really?
Yeah.
So you say, well, what are you getting there, Charles? And I go, I'm getting $500 a year. I'm getting 5%.
5%.
You go, well, how much are you getting?
I'm getting 6.
You're getting 6.
Yeah.
Well, how about you buy my 5% bond?
Why would I do that?
That's what the bond managers say. Why would I do that?
Why would I do that?
Well, they will if I sell you my $10,000 bond at a discount to par value.
Okay.
Yeah, so you offer me now, and you're supposed to be my best friend, my good friend, Mark.
Yeah, man, but I'm
Mark C. And I say, Mark, you going to give me 10 grand? And you go, I want to keep my job.
Yeah.
So I'm going to buy your bond for 5%, but I'd rather just hold on to mine.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting more. Right?
Yep.
So it's working out for you. Yeah. And so then if I hold mine, I say, forget it, I'm not going to do that. If I hold mine and interest rates continue to drop, I could sell them to other people next year.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, right? Or I could sell them 6 months from now because the bond market, this is an illustration, folks.
Right.
It's not gospel. But I can sell it to other folks later than me who are only able to buy
maybe they're getting 3.5% or
maybe just 4.5.
Yep.
But it's still my 5%'s better.
Yep.
And you're the king of the hill.
Yeah.
Because you're holding on to your bond for its 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not likely that interest rates are going to pop back up to those heights. Yep. So you're going to hold that bond for a long time.
Absolutely.
So every year, I'm thinking bond managers right now have been buying and buying and buying and buying and buying.
Yeah.
Because they know they're in these stellar heights and it's just going to come down at some point.
Yeah.
And so this huge portfolio of bonds now, it's going to be okay. But boy, oh boy, when you're trying to sell out of your F fund, when interest rates were actually were increasing, horrible scenario. Right now, it could be okay.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. And it might, with interest rates dropping a little bit, it might help out the S fund too. So it's not too horrible looking here on the horizon. However, you're looking to the G fund for stability. It will give you that. It can't lose, but its potential to make that 3.5%, 4%, that's going to slowly go bye-bye.
Yeah.
It's going to come back down to those 2.25%, 2.5% over time, right? Which is not really enough to pace inflation.
Exactly.
If we're going to be right, if we're going to be honest about true inflation, including gasoline, including groceries, and all the things we use every day, right? Then I'm going to say, and I don't care what they say, they can flag me all they want. I'm going to say inflation's more like 3.35. If you track wages, I just track my own wages from when I was a kid to what they are now and minimum wage, and that holds to about 3.35.
Yep.
And even with the blow up interest rate environment that we just had, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and wages are way up too, right? Because of it. Yeah.
In some places, not everywhere. Some places the wages are still kind of, they're not keeping up with inflation at all. But
in Texas
is one of those,
they're not.
No.
Well,
I think it's a lot of places, not just Texas, but
the cost of living is a lot better, let's say.
Yeah.
And it's better to rent in Texas.
Depends on where you're at, yes.
Well, that's true. Austin's gotten pretty tough, but Hutto's pretty good.
Yeah, where we're at, you'd be surprised. Our proximity to Austin does
too close.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to get like an hour away.
You got to get out there.
Right?
Absolutely. You got to get to where you're doing that hour 10 commute. Were you doing those New York commutes? New Yorkers are so used to spending an hour and a half on a train going somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, train's not bad.
Yeah, but you're doing it in Texas in traffic. But yeah, you kind of got to get out.
Yeah, I always say I'd much rather drive 2 hours in the desert than an hour and 10 in Los Angeles traffic. Oh, in Orange County, just no. It makes you really stressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but rolling through the desert for an hour and a half, sure. Yeah. I'm going to listen to my audio tapes, podcasts,
audio.
Other smart people, even my own, to see how we can improve, things like that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely much better. So, all right. So what you want to go into some of the other specifics, or you think?
I think we covered it, Marcus.
Okay, fantastic. So
mortgages drop. Oh, your CDs aren't going to pay as much anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, a CD, if you're working and you're in a 22% federal tax bracket and you got a state that has pretty stiff. I mean, in Colorado, right? What are your flat taxes now? 5.5 or 4.5?
I don't know.
Arizona's
That's a
2
good
and a
question.
quarter.
Yeah.
Texas, no state tax. California is 9%
Yeah.
after just a short while. And then you've got you got to add this into your CD. If you got a 4% CD, now you're renewing, you're getting 4%. Whatever you're 22% federal income tax bracket, and you got even a 3% state tax, really low,
Yep.
that's 25%. So if you got a 4% CD, you're only truly yielding 3%. Because you're going to get that 1099 the bank's going to send you.
Yeah.
You got to use it for when you're filing your taxes.
Yep.
So you're really not netting 4%. Now, if you got certain other financial instruments, now you might say, well, they're not FDIC insured. You're right, they're not, but they're still insured. You could get a MIGA. It's a multi-year guaranteed annuity, and it might get you more than 4%. And the interest will be deferred. So you could stack up interest on top of interest every year. So that works.
Yep.
And it is a guaranteed rate. I should say that the guarantee is backed by the interest rate paying ability of the underlying insurance company. That's a disclosure.
Okay.
I digress, right?
Yes.
But I just point that out because people always say, well, I'm getting 5% in my CD. I'm getting 4%. It's like,
Are you really though?
yeah, you got to look at the net.
Yeah.
The net's what I always care about.
Yeah.
And when you go into retirement, isn't that what you care about?
That's
you don't care about what your gross pension is. Time you take out your federal employee health benefit, FEHB, if you're paying for Medicare Part B, 172, 74, whatever it is, a spouse times 2, right? That's what you care about. Your federal tax, your state tax. If you got dental and vision in there, then what's your net?
Ultimately, what's going in my pocket?
Yeah, because that's what are you going to have to pay for to enjoy yourself in retirement?
Exactly.
Not just to live, but to live.
Yeah. If I'm going to go get that pina colada and play around the golf, then I need liquid cash, right? So
If you like pina coladas. I'm going to have one of those now. Just because
you know what?
We're going out tonight, baby. We're going to have pina colada.
I think the health tip might be pina coladas. No. What's our health tip today? Give me a health tip.
Oh, right. So
Yes.
I was thinking about baked in, right?
Uh-huh.
When I was thinking about what this podcast is about. Right. And I thought, you know what? I want to talk about sourdough. My mom used to, she'd say, look, if you are gluten intolerant, the one thing that you might want to consider is sourdough bread.
Right.
And I thought, why is that? And she said, because she told me, she said that when it's fermenting and it's souring, it ferments most of the gluten out of the wheat. How about that? Out of the dough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife, who is she's never been diagnosed celiac, but all things point to her having that, right? She is definitely gluten intolerant and sensitive. And one of the things that she can have.
I'm going to tell you why I'm doing that with my body.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I can tell you what one of the things she can have is sourdough bread, real sourdough bread, not just sour flavored bread, because they do that as well. You got to check to see if it's real stuff. But if it is naturally leavened, if it is sourdough from a starter,
yes,
she can digest them.
I'm going yes because it's so good.
Yeah,
I have a couple friends. I'm no longer in their congregation, but they used to bring me sourdough bread. 24-hour fermentation.
Yeah.
And one of them calls it her baby. She has 2 babies. Did you know they have to throw out, I don't know how often, every week they take half of the lump and throw it out? Oh. It's really weird. But all you need is a little bit, and she could share it with you, and you could start it. But it's a thing.
Yeah.
You have to really, it's a daily thing.
It's alive, yes.
It's a live thing, but it is an amazing thing.
Absolutely.
For good health, right? Yeah. And it enabling. So I have friends that are celiac, right?
Yeah.
And they say, oh no, Charles, if I eat bread, my digestion gets all thrown off.
Yep.
In my case, if I eat bread, it manifests itself with.
You break out.
Yeah, I break out. Yeah. Sometimes big, sometimes little, but I break out.
Yeah.
But sourdough, it's worth it.
Right.
And you also know when I go to Europe,
yes,
I don't break out. I ate the pizza in Sorbello's, the best, ottimo, mangia, in Naples. We got to go there. Oh my goodness!
I gotta go get.
Wow, and the cheese. I could eat the cheese too because it also makes me break out here.
Yeah, same thing. It's non-pasteurized, non-homogenized.
Yeah, it just was great, right? So anyway, yes, the benefits of and it seems like the market baked in these interest rate drops, right? we're talking about baking. Sourdough bread is going to be better for you because they have to let it at least ferment for 3 hours to 12 hours, it says. But 24 hours would be the ultimate.
If you get at least a day on it, it's definitely better. And you know, talking about fermentation, I think at some point in the future, maybe we just jot this down for a future health tip. Fermented vegetables, same thing. You know, there's a lot of
next time we're talking about
because
put that down. Let's keep it.
Because
the
fermentation is.
Let's go for sourdough.
Excellent.
Oh yeah,
excellent.
Fermented foods in general.
Yeah.
So it says off of Chat GPT, or no, I think it was just Safari off my cell phone. Improve nutrient bioavailability for sourdough. The slow fermentation process of sourdough bread makes it easier for the body to absorb calcium, phosphorus, and iron. Wow. Okay. Vitamins, minerals. Okay, minerals. Reduce glycemic index. So it's better for you if you have sugar issues. And also, I keep drinking the apple cider vinegar. You know that stabilizes my sugar, which is also a fermented food. Mm-hmm. FODMAPs? Reduced FODMAPs. FODMAP.
We're all trying to cut down on our FODMAPs these days. So yeah.
Sourdough fermentation can reduce fermentable. I don't know. Yeah. Improve digestion.
I think that's amazing,
for sure.
Right?
Better flavor. That is true. Yeah, that is. I really, that's my favorite bread is sourdough bread.
I'm with you 100%. I have a friend that occasionally throws a sourdough loaf at us. She does the same thing, at least a day fermentation, and it's fantastic. And I tell her, I'm glad you're not my neighbor because I'd be eating like 7 of those loaves a day.
Yes.
And probably 2 pounds of butter to go with it. I could live off that.
Oh, man, it's so good. Yeah. And a lot of Eastern Europeans do, by the way. And our friend Tatiana, she used to say, I miss the farm when we would, I don't know if they were slaughtering pigs or what they were doing, and they would render the fat. That must have been. She said, and it was bread. And it was the lard from the but it's farm pigs, right? They're getting the
good pigs,
non-GMO slop from Slovakia, right? And she would put that bread on there with the lard. And there was something else she would do. I can't remember what it was, and she missed it. Was it onion?
I was about to say onion, but I don't know. Yeah,
bread and lard, and she just go crazy.
I know sometimes people do that with tomato too.
Tear it up.
Yeah,
I bet you we would tear it up.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a big fat.
Oh, by the way, plug for Pierre.
Yeah.
I forget, Du Pâté or something. He's a French baker across the 5. We say the 5 if you're in Cali. Across Interstate 5. There's a farmer's market on Friday mornings, I think 9 to 12. 9 to 12, just a short one. It's a small. But Pierre's usually there, or one of his constituents, and he makes gluten-free bread. I run into my friends there buying it. And it's sourdough gluten-free. Oh. It's not cheap. Oh. I want to say it's $10.50 for I get rosemary because I really like it.
Yeah.
And just plain, but it's sourdough, a small loaf, but it's excellent.
Yeah.
Little gluten-free baguettes for $5. I don't even have to toast those.
Getting hungry, bro.
They're so good because the rice bread, you have to toast it, but not his rice bread. It's just like regular bread. Took that baguette, split it, put that Kerrygold butter on there and a little jam on one of them, a little strawberry jam. My organic Costco big jar was fantastic.
Oh, that sounds good.
Sourdough bread.
Sourdough bread, baby. Get your sourdough bread. And again, make sure it's fermented, real sourdough, not just the sour flavored stuff. So.
And look for rents come down. Maybe the price of homes to ease up a little bit, even though people are going to start to want to sell as mortgage rates come down. I think everything had to come down. So yeah.
And it's good to know that it's baked in. I mean, I think that's the takeaway here because like the heat wave, right? Once you start to see numbers, sometimes numbers can be scary out of context if you just, but the idea is don't freak out. There's measures inherently planned in or baked in, right?
The stock market and the bond market expect them.
Absolutely.
It's when they don't happen that they get ticked off.
Yeah.
But when they expect them and they happen, everything's right.
Yeah.
Most times.
Yep. And as always, we tell you if you have any concerns, obviously having a fiduciary, having someone on your side that knows this stuff
absolutely
is definitely helpful. So I think we're going to put a bow on it there, my brother. Good stuff today. And get your sourdough bread. I'm going to go get me some sourdough bread and butter right now. Thank you for joining us as always on the CD Financial Podcast. CD Financial, where health meets wealth. I'm Marcus C. That is Chuck D. We're happy to have you here. And don't forget to subscribe, like the videos, subscribe so you get them right away. And there's that link if you want to get in touch with CD Financial. Till next time, thank you for being here. Chuck, as always, a pleasure, my brother. Y'all take care.
All right, Mark C. Talk to you soon, folks. CD Financial, where health meets wealth.